Wait a second.
Oh yeah.
You were playing one microphone in your hand.
Oh no. Maybe a little bit later after the birth.
You look good, man.
Until I woke up this morning and watched the Harlem Shake led by that kind of got my day off to a bad start. I was hoping I came in and he wasn't in the costume. He wasn't.
How'd you deal with that sight for about an hour last night?
Wow, I couldn't eat dinner. Couldn't eat it. Sorry.
Well, Kevin,
With
let's
the
start it off.
lycra outfit on, I saw where all the butt calls are coming from. It was not a good scene this morning. About 7:50.
Kevin, let's start it off.
Well, happy opening day, Jay. Terry, as we get going here this year, today and even the next couple of weeks, as you get to know this team a little bit better than spring training, what are you anxious to see? What are you anxious to find out about this group?
Well, anytime you start spring training and you have all these meetings where, there's a huge discussion on what these players, who they are. The guys that have seen them, the scouts in the organization, all the reports you read, and you watch them play in exhibition games. And you hope you've done a very good job of trying to get the right guys in the right spots. So right now, it's about getting a couple guys used to seeing what they can do. Some guys, these young players, get them in some games to see how they handle this, being on this stage. And certainly it is, in our case, making sure David and Murph stay healthy in this kind of cold weather. So it's in the next couple of weeks, we hopefully put together the team that we think will be able to compete to the next 162 games.
Yeah, Rich.
Terry, you've been on the watch for the development of John Denise. You've seen him develop from pitcher 2 years ago to now. He's your opening day pitcher, and there's reasons for that, Johan not being around. But can you talk about his development, and what do you think you've seen from him in the last 12 months to make you think he can go to that next level?
Well, I'm going to go back 24 months, Rich. I will tell you, John Neese, he realized 2 years ago after he got hurt late in the season, and he'd been hurt the season before, that it took great conditioning to get through it. So he put his mind to it that he was going to get in great shape, and he did. He got through a season last year where I thought in the second half of the season he was as good a pitcher as we had on our staff. Obviously, he and R.A. were two big keys in the second half that kept us really as much afloat as we were. I think he's grown as a pitcher. He now knows what he has to do. He's got great belief in his stuff. Now, where in the past, he kind of went to his bread and butter pitches. Now he knows that I think the changeups helped him. Two-seamer, he's got a cutter, he's got the great curveball. He's got all the weapons, and now he's learning. Now he's knowing how to use them. And he had a great spring. And when Johan wasn't available, I thought it was just an easy pick to have John start.
Yeah, Mike.
Terry, do you have an eighth inning guy, or is that going to be mix and match for a while?
It's going to be a mix and match, Mike, for a while until we get a feel for one or two guys. That's part of the game where it'd be nice to have one guy, but you're looking at a team like right now with San Diego. They got four lefties on the bench. That all of a sudden, if the eighth inning comes time for those guys to be used, we got to make sure we've got somebody to counteract that. And that's one of the reasons why we brought two lefties north, is that we thought it was very important that we be able to piece the seventh and eighth innings together with some left-handed and right-handed relief.
Terry, I guess this applies more to Calgill than anybody else, but when you have a guy who's basically being told you're a starter and an everyday player, essentially for the first time in his career, do you have a rule of thumb about how much time you want to give them before you decide if you have to work off of that and adjust and maybe develop a platoon?
Well, I think if that was the case, if he was a real young guy, if he was just a rookie, I think you might have an idea. He's had time in the major leagues. He knows what he can do. One of the reasons why today was, obviously we used the matchups with Volquez, and that righties hit this guy okay. So I said, well, we need to find out. We need to find out right now what Colin Calgill is going to be about for us. And in the meantime, we've certainly got Kirk's here if we need a lefty, and Mike Baxter I know can run out there. I told Jordani Valdespin the other day to make sure that he does a lot of work in the outfield during batting practice so he can continue to shag balls off the bat. But the first couple of weeks is when we find out if these guys are everyday players.
Terry, who's the long man out of your bullpen right now? Is it Greg Burke or is it Familia?
You mean long man? I mean, in the National League, that's like 2 innings.
Yeah.
That'd be probably Burt, probably Scott Rice. You know, those two guys will probably use in those roles.
Terry, when you've gone through the spring and you've seen John Buck behind the plate, where do you feel like his biggest impact with the staff can be?
I'll tell you what, I think it's the controlling of the pitchers. This guy has a game plan. He stays with it. The first time, and I've seen it this spring, where they start shaking, he has conversations. You know, he has an idea of what he wants to do. He came to me early in spring and wanted to make sure he caught everybody, so he knew what they had and what they could, how they pitched to get guys out. And you know, we've had our team meeting yesterday, and John Buck had a lot to say about players on the other team. You know, he's done due diligence. He's kept a book on everybody. Knows how, you know, and again, we're talking about different staff than he's worked with in the past, but he's got an idea of what he wants to do, and I think that's made a big difference in what we saw in our pitching staff in spring.
Yeah, Josh in the back.
Terry, is Newman Heights here solely for his defense, or will he get some at-bats, and whether or not he's only for his defense, how does that work in terms of how close does the score have to be when you watch him in and things like that?
Well, you know, we looked at today, again, because we want to see Cowgill, but, you know, Newey being hurt all spring, he's a little behind with the at-bats. So he is here right now to try to get him some at-bats, but certainly to protect us defensively, because he's, you know, he and Matt Dendecker are probably the best two center fielders we got. So we just thought it was important to have somebody here in case something happened, that someone could go out and catch the ball in the outfield. Late in the game, obviously in our particular instance, you know, he may be used to spell Lucas late in the game. But, you know, we just thought we needed that guy that we know that if the game's on the line can go play defense for us.
Terry, opening day, obviously, always one for optimism. But maybe over the last 6-7 years, this might be the most optimistic for the Mets. You know, Harvey's already here, Wheeler, Darno on the way. How do you go about changing the culture to one that winning is expected, not just competitiveness, but to be, you know, top echelon?
Well, I think from the first day, I know the first day since I've gotten here, that was going to be a priority. Winning it's what the game is about. We have never used the word rebuilding it at all. Therefore, we've gone out and signed some quality veterans each and every year to fill in some little holes as our young players get better. But they're certainly on the way, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel here when they start getting here. And this is going to be a really interesting team here in the next few years when that young pitching starts getting here. But as I've said, this is the major leagues. I'm sorry, I'm not going to ever sit there and say, well, we're going to just be the whipping boys for the rest of the league while we wait for our young players. That's not what's going to go on here. We have expectations here, and part of them, when you're a major league player, is to play right, play well. They didn't get here just by pulling names out of a hat to fill in for a couple of years. So, you know what? When we get off to this, we'll see what happens here in the first couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and if we need to make changes, we'll make changes. Because there are expectations that we compete the right way and give our fans something that they want to see. You know, wins and losses can come, but we got to play the game right.
Terry, opening day has so much extra significance for fans. Does it for you? Does it for your players? Do you want your players to have that extra energy?
Well, this is the start. This is what we do, and opening day is always a fun time because, number one, it's the start of our, of a long season. But this is our life, and we want to get started doing it. So it's always fun. It's always a big day. You know, it's always nice to win on opening day because it gets the fans excited, keeps them optimistic, and that's what we're trying to do. You know, that's why we really push in spring training to make sure we get off to a good start so our fans can get excited so that they think it's going to be an exciting summer. So it's a big day for a lot of people.
Yeah, Fitz.
Terry, you don't really have a traditional or established leadoff hitter per se. You used Tejada in that role a decent amount last year. What makes you like Cowgill in that spot?
From what I saw in spring training, Giordani will do some of it too. It can be 1-0 in a hurry. So they bring that energy, very aggressive on the bases, and if the mistake's made, they can hit it over the fence. So,
Yeah. Mark.
Terry, you're good at articulating about what opening day means to everybody. You have a particularly vivid memory of an opening day in your life, in your career, maybe your first one in the major leagues in any capacity?
well, obviously, I think my first day when I managed the Houston Astros, my first day as a major league manager during a regular season. We beat the Expos, who had an outstanding team in the 12th inning, But I remember walking out to the foul line when we got introduced and said, okay, it's all been worth it. You know, the 20 years in the minor leagues, all the winter balls, all the instructional leagues, all the things that you did to get there, it was all worth it to stand there for the first time. And that will always go down as my biggest opening day.
Howie?
Terry, as much as you wipe the slate clean from spring training statistics and performance on opening day, are you concerned, though, about Ruben in the spring he had, and what happened to him offensively, and are you afraid that that could carry over, at least in the initial phases?
Well, Howie, you know, you've been around me a lot. You know, I trust my players. And Ruben and I had a number of discussions in the last 2 weeks. And he reassured me he will be ready, and he'll be the same guy that I've seen in the past during the season. I cannot explain what happened in spring training, why he didn't swing the bat the way he's capable of. You know, again, sometimes when players, certain guys know they're the guy, that sense of urgency is no longer there, and so they get themselves ready for the season. You see it with pitching, you see it with position players, and I think, you know, Ruben knows he's the guy, and kind of just got shook. I'm gonna get my bats and try to get my timing down, and but when the bell rings, I'm gonna be ready, and that's what we're hoping we see.
Mike?
Terry, I'm sure you've seen other pitchers over the years come up like Harvey did last year, and look pretty sharp for 10 starts. The second time around, why is it harder for some pitchers their sophomore year, and then what can you do to?
Well, Mike, one thing at the major league level, obviously, players, if they've never seen you before, they're leery of what you can do and what you've got. After they've seen you once or twice, now you better pitch. And that's why some guys who never make adjustments get hit around, because they don't make the adjustments and the hitter does. That's not Matt Harvey, I can assure you of that. You know, Matt Harvey, when the season was over, said, hey, look, your changeup has got to be a real, another pitch you need to use. And all he did was came to spring training and worked hard and used it and became a very effective pitch. So he's made adjustments himself already. So I just think that he's, you know, again, the way he pitched in spring training, pounded the strike zone, made people swing the bats. He's going to get easier outs. I see him getting deeper in games, and with that, I think he's going to win a lot of games.
Any last questions, guys? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.